Welcome to Uniting the Cults. We're going to be reviewing or replying to a video by Mohammed Hijab, How to Conquer Atheism in 8 Minutes.
Now, the Quran asks a very simple question. In chapter number 52, verse number 35 of the Quran, it says, أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Were they created from nothing, or were they themselves the creators of themselves? Now, if you speak to an educated atheist, they will not deny the fact that the universe had a beginning, because this is pretty much scientifically proven. Through the expanding universe, for example, we know that it had a beginning, since it's still expanding.
Just a phrase, pretty much scientifically proven. All of that is fucking nonsense. None of that is how science works. Anyone saying a sentence like that, a phrase like that, it means they don't know shit about how science works. And I will explain before the end of this video.
However, when you start speaking to them about what happened before the universe, this is when you get.
This is already a dumb question. Before implies we're talking about a time, and time didn't exist before the universe and after the universe. There's no such thing. That's even illogical. If time starts here and ends here, and you want to talk about what happened here or here, that's not part of time.
An unsure answer. They'll say, we don't know. And this is the first point of contention. If they don't know,
that's incorrect that they say we don't know. Who's saying we don't know? Maybe some idiot atheist that you asked who don't know any of this, who don't know this basic thing that I just said? He's not talking to like Richard Dawkins. Actually, that wouldn't be maybe not the right person to speak to anyway, because he studies biology and that's not his expertise. He maybe knows the answer anyway, but maybe you should speak to David Deutsch, a theoretical physicist. By the way, I'm not a theoretical physicist. I'm not a physicist. I studied physics, and I know these basic things because I've asked these questions before and I've sought the answers.
Then why do they call themselves atheists? Since that word means without God.
As if labels fucking matter to the actual ideas that we're thinking about. What we call ourselves doesn't fucking matter. And now he's changed the subject. He was talking about the idea, he was talking about attempting to refute the concept that, or the theory that there's no God. Now he's talking about why people label themselves a certain way. Totally unrelated.
And agnostic, which is a better word, means without knowledge, because it comes from the two Greek words, without the meaning without, and gnostos meaning knowledge, meaning without knowledge. Moving on now.
Moving on? He didn't say anything yet. So what he should be doing is looking at all the competing theories and then working to figure out which one is the best one, in the sense that it refutes all the other ones. So one competing theory is there's no God. Another competing theory is Islam. Another competing theory is Christianity. And really those, you could say, are each one of those is buckets of competing theories, because there's different flavors of Islam and Christianity. And you could say another competing theory is there's a God with certain features, but that means it's not Islam and not Christianity and not Judaism. It's just something else. It's not part of a religion. You could even say one theory is there's a God that created the universe and did nothing else, did not interact with the universe afterwards, like the way Christianity and Islam claims God does. And when you say something like you're going to conquer atheism, the way to refute atheism is you got to compare to all the other competing theories. And whatever criticism you try to apply to one of them, you have to see if it also applies to the other ones. It would be meaningless to give a criticism of atheism if it also, that same thing, criticizes all the other theories, the competing ones.
If you really want to stop an atheist in his tracks, all you really require is one deductive argument. And deduction has always been part of the scientific method and maths, and thus is really the strongest kind of logical argument. Now, the argument goes like this: that
there's no strong and weak arguments. There's correct and incorrect arguments. That's it. Doesn't matter how strong or weak something is. If it's a correct argument, if it's weak, it still works. If it's strong, it still works. If you have a criticism and it's a weak one versus a strong one, but it's correct, it's going to work. If it's incorrect, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter that it was strong or fucking weak.
Everything, number one, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Let me say that one more time. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. And number two, that the universe began to exist, as we've just...
I don't think anyone says that. And where he's getting this from, and he should be talking about the actual theories that supposed atheists are talking about. The theory that they're talking about, if I understand correctly, is an implication that comes from Einstein's general relativity. And the implication has been named the Big Bang theory. And in that theory, it doesn't say that the universe began with the Big Bang. It says that the expansion began at the Big Bang. So it's not making a claim about what was there before the start of the expansion. It's easily compatible with the stuff was already there at the Big Bang. You know what I mean? Like, as in, it didn't get created, it was just there. What started the universe is the expansion of it.
Mentioned. 3 logically follows, which is the universe therefore has a cause. Now, the question is...
I don't even know what that would mean, the universe has a cause. That's implied from number 2, which number 2 makes no sense. And anyway, let's suppose I'm wrong about all the stuff I said so far, and there is a God. None of that has anything to do with Islam or Christianity or Judaism or any other features about God except for God created the universe. It has no meaning. It's the same as saying that the universe is God or God is the universe.
The question is, what kind of cause is this? Because if we say that that cause had a cause, and that cause had a cause, and that cause had a cause, and we go regressively infinitely backward, then we would have an infinitely regressive...
He's confusing himself even bringing this up. He already said with his argument that everything that begins to exist has a cause, and he's saying if the universe began, something caused it to begin, and that something didn't have a beginning. So there's no reason to go and do this infinite thing.
Line. Thus, it's completely appropriate and completely necessary for that cause to be uncaused, to have no beginning, and to have the knowledge and creative capacity to change the situation. So, the only way an atheist can really destroy this argument is by destroying one of the 2 premises. One, which is that the universe, that everything that begins to exist has a cause. They can try and prove that, but then have to show why and how things don't come into existence, popping into existence on a day-to-day basis. They won't be able to show you this scientifically or empirically. The other premise is that the universe began to exist, and as we said, science pretty much confirms this reality.
There's that phrase again. Science pretty much confirms. Pretty much shouldn't be existing in any fucking sentence. This vague ass shit. And science doesn't confirm. Science rules out. Anyone that thinks science confirms things is confused. Now, what people will bring up, if people who know about this a little bit more, they understand this concept of corroboration. If you have a theory that you're trying to do an experiment on, what you actually have is two competing theories, and the experiment is designed to rule out one of them. And then when that happens, the other one left standing, the verb we give to that act is corroboration. People try to say this is confirmation. It is not confirmation, because there's always an infinite set of theories. And when you leave a theory unrefuted and refuting the other one, that theory that you left unrefuted is just the one that you know of right now. There's an infinite set of theories that you have not considered. This is why in a court of law, like in a murder case, you know, the prosecution is trying to say that the person committed murder. That's the theory they're going with. The defense, all they have to do is come up with another theory that agrees with all the evidence, and that theory says no murder happened. So there's no confirming that the murder theory happened or is true. There's only ruling out theories.
Reality. Now, this really, I'll leave it open for the atheist. Try and break down this logical argument. Try and break it down. Another argument that you can bring forward to the atheist is what's referred to commonly as the fine-tuning argument. Now, before I begin, I want to define fine-tuning here as that the universe is so fine-tuned that it would allow life to exist. I'm not talking necessarily about aesthetics, how beautiful the universe is or whatever. I'm talking about this particular definition, that it allows.
So when I was a Muslim, I was into this also. That the way people say this is a different way. Let's say they say the phrase, there's no way that the universe could have happened the way it is without something designing it, because everything had to be, and we use these words, everything had to be perfect in a certain way in order for life to come about. And that means stuff like how far the earth is from the sun, orbiting it, how, you know, the fact that the earth is spinning, which allows or causes a magnetic field which protects earth from the radiation from the sun. And there's a million things like this. And there's a lot of constants involved in the physics theories that we know of. And if any of those constants were a little bit different, everything would work differently and there would be no life, as far as we know. And the idea is, with that like perfect fine-tuning of things, we say fine-tuning because we're saying the idea is, what if there was what if the universe was a certain way where something was just a little bit different and then life couldn't happen? So if you imagine, out of the infinity of possible universes, if only one of them could produce life, and that's the one we're in, and all the other ones didn't happen, don't exist, all those universes don't exist, then, you know, that implies, the idea is that implies something designed it. And it's a little bit similar to the, you know, the idea like a watch, this dirty ass watch here. let's say the mechanical ones, not the electronic ones. If you find a watch in the middle of the desert and you ask, did the watch, how did the watch come to be there and the way it is? It wasn't by a bunch of things accidentally, a bunch of atoms accidentally coming together and manifesting into a watch. The idea is there had to be some designer, and that's what he's talking about here. And so a couple of things about this. First of all, even if that's right, that again just means there's a God, and it doesn't mean anything about any religion, and it doesn't mean anything about any features about God. The only feature is that God created the universe. There's no feature like God plays and listens to our prayers, or even hears us, or cares about anything that we're doing. The other part of it is it's possible there's multiple universes, and I don't mean the multiverse concept. There's a couple of theories, physics theories out there that use the term multiverse. So I don't want to confuse people with that. But just imagine the universe that we see as one of them, and imagine all the other ones also exist. And we just happen to be the one that produced life and the other ones didn't. Or let's say some of them did and most of them didn't.
Life, any kind of life, to exist anywhere in the universe. Yeah. Now, if you look at Paul Davies, for example, who's a cosmologist, he said that now there's broad, basically, agreement. He said there's a broad agreement between the physicists and cosmologists that the universe is fine-tuned for human life. And this is a broad agreement between theists and atheists, believers and disbelievers, right? So you don't have to believe in God to recognize this reality. Now, there are three actual options, as you can choose one of them, to how this universe became so finely tuned. Option number one is that it evolved somehow. Well, this option is not available in physics, and there's no actual...
I've never heard of anyone talking about the universe evolving. What does that even mean? The laws of nature don't change over time.
evidence of that at all. And no serious physicist has ever made such a proposition. Thus, it's...
Why are you bringing it up then? I've never heard this from anyone. I've never heard anyone make any argument about it. And this guy's right now not making an argument, not providing any explanation.
unscientific.
So he's like bringing up an idea and refuting it before explaining it in the first place.
You cannot say that. Option number two is that the universe is like this because it's a random generation, it's a chance factor. And this is what lots of atheists actually do say. Now, having said that,
what does this even mean, chance? This is stupid. This is like saying there was an engine that produces universes, and when it produced our universe, there was some dice that were rolled. That doesn't make any sense. There was nothing that created the universe. There's either the universe or there's a God that created the universe. And if it's a God that created the universe, I don't think it makes sense to say there was a chance involved. Unless you make your theory, the God theory, that God is a engine that randomly, it's dice and it produces universes by playing some dice. You could talk about a theory like that. I don't know that anyone has proposed such a theory. Although if you ask the question, if you compare two God theories, one God theory is he designed the universe for life to happen a certain way, and the other God theory is it's more like an engine that randomly produces universes, and by chance the first one it produced was this one. But even by that logic, you could go further and say, well, it produced 1,000 universes and 999 of them didn't produce life, and this one did.
If you look at Roger Penrose, he's a physicist in Oxford University. He was talking about the entropy levels in the beginning of the universe, and he says that the possibility of the entropy level being the way it is in the beginning of the universe is, and he says, 10 to the power of 10 times 123. Now that's a big number. That's just one calculation for one of the components of the universe in the beginning of the early stages of the universe. Now, having said that, you should know through just this evidence that saying it's a chance factor that the universe came into being is a ridiculous option that shouldn't even be uttered. The third option is that there was a designer, there was a creator, there was an inventor. This makes more sense, doesn't it? Okay, if you don't want to admit it now, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to admit it, it doesn't matter. I just want to say something to you guys, to the atheists. Seriously, this is what I want to say. That you don't even need to logically follow these arguments that I'm putting forward to you. These arguments make sense, they're logically grounded, but you don't need to follow them because it's actually a natural predisposition to believe in God. And as the Anthropological Society of Oxford University have concluded through some very...
This idea of predisposition to believe in God is so dumb because we also have predispositions for lots of things that we see as stupid. So, as an example, when you're very young, you think things like, when you're trying to understand other people, one of your earliest assumptions is that they are like you. And this has been said about this, that this is a predisposition we have. This is just a lack of knowledge, though. We have tons of those. It's like the intuitively the easiest solution to that little problem. You know, you're trying to understand how somebody else works. The easiest solution that you can think of when you're a kid, hasn't learned anything yet, is, oh, they must be like me. And then you realize, you find out later, they're not like me. People are different in certain ways. And then you're still wrong about that. And, 6 months later, you realize, I did the mistake again. I assumed this person is like me, but they're not. And, you might go through that 1,000 times before you really get good at modeling people and looking for differences in people rather than assuming they're the same. And anyway, so this is a predisposition people have. And it's just a lack of knowledge. It's a stupidity and ignorance.
In very, very, very important studies that have happened in 2011, for example, that belief in God is a predisposed belief within children. So to believe in God, you don't have to actually follow any logic.
Another predisposition that we have. I remember thinking, my parents know everything. And then when I realized they didn't know everything, I also still had the belief, my parents don't lie to me. What they tell me is what they believe is the truth. Then I found out they lie to me. These are all predispositions, and they're all false. They're all coming out of ignorance.
Whatsoever. You don't have to be a smart person. It should be a natural thing. So I say this. I say it's time now. It's time to stop fooling ourselves. It's time. What did you say? No, I'll say it one more time. I said it's time. It's time to release yourself from the suppressive shackles of atheism that are stopping you from...
Shackles? This is so dumb. So, if we're going to use labels, from what I understand, atheism just means there's no God. And now that brings up issues of what is knowledge and how do we know things, and now we're talking about the subject of epistemology, the study of knowledge. And people have different conceptions of knowledge, epistemology. And so the best one is the one that is completely compatible with the scientific approach. And in how the scientific approach works, or how knowledge is treated in there, is everything we know is to the best of our knowledge. We don't know anything perfectly. Even our best physics theories, we recognize them as they're going to be improved upon in the future. And that implies that when a theory is supplanted with a better theory in the future, that means the older theory had flaws that we then revealed. And all of them have flaws. Everything we know has flaws in it. So when I say I know there's no God, I mean to the best of my knowledge. Yeah, I could be wrong. And then the question is, where could I be wrong? And we could discuss that. And that's what I've been doing here, where I say, okay, let's suppose I'm wrong about a bunch of these things. All of it just implies that if I am wrong about that there is no God, it means there is a God that created the universe, but that's the only feature. All of this talk from this whole video from Mohammed Hijab is only arguing against the idea that there's no God. It's not explaining the other theories. So, and there's infinite number of theories. You could come up with 1,000 God theories. The first one is, okay, God created the universe, and that's it. The second theory is that plus this other feature. And, a lot of what most people think of as God, and let's say in the conception of the, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, is this extra feature of he gives a shit about our lives and he listens to our prayers and I don't know, helps the good people and gives bad luck to the bad people, kind of thing. These are extra features being added on top of it, and none of that is being discussed here. That's not how scientific thinking works. Scientific thinking works by you consider all the rival theories and you compare and contrast them. What a lot of people do, including Mohammed Hijab here, is they try to refute the concept of atheism while leaving the result of that unstated. It's like a Muslim says, well, atheism must be wrong, and then they don't say anything further, and then they insinuate that means Islam is the truth.
Realizing your true potential. Once you've completely taken those shackles away from yourself and liberated yourself from atheism and released your predisposed self,
look at all this talk he's doing. He's talking right now. He's not even refuting atheism now. He's talking to atheists about this weird spirituality stuff. He's not even talking about the theory that there's no God and the rival theories that there is a God. He could be doing that now. This is an 8-minute, 21-second video, and it seems like about half of it, he's not talking about arguments. He could have been spending his time to do that. That's how you know this is all just fucking mythology.
The true self, your true self. Once you've done that, then and only then will you realize both peace and purpose in life.
Now he's making up more bullshit. First time he brought it up in here. He's insinuating that being an atheist means you can't have meaning in life. You can't understand meaning in life, something like that. And I know a lot of people believe that. They think if you don't believe in God, then there's no meaning in your life or there's no purpose of life. And that's actually what holds a lot of people back, keeps people in religion. It's totally wrong. It makes no sense. And they're not even arguing against it. They're not arguing why they believe if you're an atheist, then there's no meaning for life. They're not arguing it. They're just, giving an unexplained assertion.
Then and only then will you reach the basic human function. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So I guess that's it. If you if you had any thoughts about this, especially criticisms, please let me know in the comments. Other than that, if you like this video, please hit like. Please subscribe to the channel. If you found this helpful, other people can find it helpful too, but only if they find this channel. And that's why you need to hit like and subscribe to the channel. And there's more to do too. Find me on YouTube. Find me on Reddit. Let's help this spread, please. Thank you.